Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Dharma Talk. In our last episode, we explored Chapter 2 of Handbook of Abhidhamma Studies, the deep dive into consciousness or citta. We learned that consciousness is the awareness of an object momentary, arising and ceasing billions of times in the blink of an eye. But here's the thing, consciousness never arises alone. It is always accompanied by other mental qualities. These companions are called cetasikas or mental factors. Chapter 3 is all about these mental factors. And this is where Abhidhamma really shines because it doesn't just say the mind is aware, it tells us exactly what qualities are present in each moment of awareness. Think of consciousness as the leader of a team. The leader never works alone. The team members, the mental factors that shape the quality of the experience. Some are wholesome, like compassion and mindfulness. Others are unwholesome, like greed and hatred. Some are neutral, like attention or perception. In this presentation, we'll explore what mental factors are, how they're classified, and why they matter. We'll look at the 52 cetasikas grouped into categories, and we'll see how they condition the ethical quality of consciousness. So, if you've ever wondered, why do I feel anger sometimes? Why do I feel compassion at other times? What makes one moment wholesome and another unwholesome? The answer lies in these mental factors. Let's dive in. In Abhidhamma, a mental factor, a cetasika, is defined as a quality that arises together with consciousness, shares the same object, and contributes to the experience. For example, when you see a flower, visual consciousness arises, but along with it, perception arises to recognize the flower, feeling arises to register pleasantness, attention arises to focus on the object. These are mental factors. So consciousness is like the bare awareness. Mental factors are what give it flavor, texture, and ethical quality. Without mental factors, consciousness would be empty. With them, it becomes rich, complex, and ethically significant. There are 52 mental factors in total. They are grouped into categories. 1. Universal factors, present in every moment of consciousness. 2. Occasional factors, present in some moments, not all. Third, unwholesome factors, rooted in greed, hatred, delusion. Fourth, beautiful factors, wholesome qualities like faith, mindfulness, compassion. Let's break these down. These are the factors that arise with every consciousness no matter what. There are 7: contact, phassa; feeling, vedana; perception, sanya; volition, cetana; one-pointedness, ekaggata; life faculty, jivitindriya; attention, manasikara. Think of these as the basic ingredients of every mental event. Whether wholesome or unwholesome, they're always there. These arise sometimes depending on the situation. Examples include initial application, vitaka, sustained application; vikara, decision, adhimokha; energy, virya; joy, piety. They're like spices, not always present, but when they are, they change the flavor of the experience. Now we come to the unwholesome factors. These are the ones that make consciousness ethically negative. There are 14 in total, including greed, lobha, hatred, dosa; delusion, moha; conceit, mana; wrong view, ditthi; doubt, vicikiccha; sloth, thena; torpor, midha. These are the troublemakers. They distort perception, fuel suffering, and keep us trapped in samsara. For example, when anger arises, hatred is present as a mental factor. When craving arises, greed is present. When confusion arises, delusion is present. By identifying these factors, we can recognize unwholesome states and work to abandon them. On the other side, we have the beautiful factors. These are wholesome qualities that uplift consciousness. There are 25 in total, including faith, sada; mindfulness, sati; non-greed, alobha; non-hatred, adosa; wisdom, panya; compassion, karuna; sympathetic joy, mudita; equanimity, upekkha. These are the allies of the meditator. They purify the mind, support concentration, and lead to liberation. For example, when you give with a pure heart, non-greed and compassion are present. When you meditate with clarity, mindfulness and wisdom are present. Cultivating these factors is the essence of Buddhist practice. Now let's see how mental factors shape consciousness. Consciousness itself is ethically neutral, it's just awareness. But when mental factors accompany it, they determine whether the moment is wholesome, unwholesome, or functional. For example, consciousness with greed is unwholesome. Consciousness with compassion is wholesome. Consciousness with just perception and attention is functional. So, mental factors are the ethical engine of the mind. How does this help us in practice? When we meditate, we can observe mental factors as they arise. We can notice greed, hatred, or delusion. We can notice mindfulness, compassion, or wisdom. This observation helps us cultivate wholesome factors and abandon unwholesome ones. For example, if anger arises, we can recognize hatred is present. By naming it, we weaken its power. If mindfulness arises, we can strengthen it by sustaining attention. This is how Abhidhamma becomes practical. It gives us a vocabulary to understand the mind and tools to transform it. Some critics say the list of 52 mental factors is too detailed. Why so many? Isn't this over-analysis? But the purpose is precision. Just as a scientist studies molecules in detail, a meditator studies mental factors in detail. Another criticism is that it's too technical for ordinary people, but in reality, even a basic understanding can help us recognize wholesome and unwholesome states. So to conclude, Chapter 3 of Handbook of Abhidhamma Studies gives us a detailed map of mental factors. We've learned that consciousness never arises alone. It is always accompanied by cetasikas. We've seen the 52 factors grouped into universal, occasional, unwholesome, and beautiful. We've seen how they condition the ethical quality of consciousness. Most importantly, we've seen how this analysis helps us in practice. By observing mental factors, we can cultivate wholesome qualities and abandon unwholesome ones. So, as you go about your day, try to notice mental factors in action. When you feel anger, recognize hatred. When you feel compassion, recognize non hatred. When you feel mindfulness, recognize wisdom. This awareness can transform your life. Thank you so much for joining me in this deep dive into Chapter 3 of Handbook of Abhidhamma Studies. We've journeyed through the definition of mental factors, their classification, their ethical qualities, and their practical application. We've seen how Abhidhamma turns the mind into a field of study, showing us that what we call self is really just a collection of consciousness and mental factors. If you found this exploration helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who might be interested in Buddhist philosophy and meditation. In our next episode, we'll move into Chapter 4, where we explore matter, rupa. This is the physical side of reality, and it will balance our study of the mind with an analysis of the body. Until then, may you be well, may you be peaceful, and may you continue your journey into wisdom. Now, before we sign off, let's reflect one more time on what we've covered today. Consciousness, as we saw in Chapter 2, is never alone. It always has companions, and those companions, the mental factors, are what give each moment of awareness its ethical flavor, its emotional tone, and its practical impact. When greed arises, it's not just me being greedy. It's a specific mental factor coloring consciousness. When compassion arises, it's not just me being kind. It's a wholesome mental factor uplifting the mind. By learning to recognize these factors, we gain a powerful tool for self-understanding. We stop identifying with emotions as mine and instead see them as conditioned phenomena. That shift is liberating. So, as you go forward, I encourage you to practice noticing mental factors in daily life. When you feel joy, recognize the wholesome factors present. When you feel anger, recognize the unwholesome factors. When you feel mindfulness, strengthen it. This awareness is the bridge between theory and practice, between study and liberation. Thank you again for joining me. If you found this exploration meaningful, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing. And don't forget to leave a comment. I'd love to hear which mental factors you notice most often in your own experience. Next time, we'll move into chapter 4, where we explore matter, rupa. This will balance our study of the mind with an analysis of the body, showing us how physical phenomena interact with consciousness. Until then, may your practice be steady, may your wisdom deepen, and may you continue walking the path toward freedom.